two different groups in a room together learning about each other. Whenever you learn about somebody, you incrementally build an opportunity to build respect. Through building respect, you actually are building trust as well. So I think this event is going to go a long way in that some people have already removed their suits and jackets, and others have already learned how to speak some language of the academics.
The whole concept of being inquisitive and being curious about the world around us has always been like that. So I think in terms of how this can actually inform and develop for us is actually putting forward our worldview in a way that people understand what needs to be done, and research is only a part of that. And how do we actually address it in the context of our own worldview, our own values, our own processes, and our own knowledge.
I find this research forum is going to really help the relationship between the First Nations Health Authority and the Interior First Nations communities that have come to it, to help identify the gaps that we need to look at in gathering data. So I find that's really good, but it's also educating the people that are at the forum of the kind of work that we need to do and how we need to do it together.
That's the theme of the entire gathering, is we have to start thinking in different ways and move away from this traditional Western idea of what research is and what knowledge is and what information is.
It's really about how do we continue to focus on the strengths of our people versus the weaknesses. What we lack and forget to understand, we've been here for thousands of years. Our people are very resilient. Why is that? What are those things, those factors that make us so resilient, and why are we still here? Why is it that our languages are coming back? Why is it we have all those strengths? And so rather than focusing on what's wrong, we need to start focusing on what's right. And I think that's what we have to begin to look at, because those things are going to make the most impact for our people, is focusing on their strengths as a people and their strengths as a family and our strengths as nations.
Self-determination, it's framed in the sense of what do we have to do in terms of being self-determining? How do we get there? But the other reflection of that is the recognition of your self-determination.
We have to start thinking in different ways and move away from this traditional Western idea of what research is and what knowledge is and what information is. And you know, assert that we know how to do this. We just need the opportunity to do it differently.
We have the answers, but we're not being heard by institutions. We're not being heard by academics. And so that really fosters self-determination if there's genuine acknowledgement of the capacity, of what's important to your people.
Presently, with the data that's been gathered by the government right now, they take it, we don't know where that data goes to, where that information goes to. Sometimes some of that data just sits on a shelf and a lot of money goes into it, and then it sits there, and we don't know as First Nations sometimes all the resources that's been put into it, and then it's been shelved. So what I see now, that if we start to gather our own data, then we'd be able to say where that data goes to, how it will be used, and what we're going to do with that data.
To be able to move forward with a partner, we need to be able to understand each other. And research is very important because it assists each party in understanding and learning and getting a better understanding of where both parties are coming from.
In order to get our work done, we have to be able to build partnerships and collaborate with institutions like TRU, with the Interior Health Authority, even with the First Nations Health Authority. And I think this process here is really about building that relationship and really identifying for each other, like what are some of those gaps and what do we need to actually work on? Because if you're not in the same room having a dialogue, how can you build a partnership?
We need to have some more of these sorts of gatherings to really lay out what our expectations of each other are and what some of our needs are.
Research is all about relationships. It's all about building relationships.
Research has like a really important role in strengthening our traditional knowledge systems because it reinforces our identities. I think that community-based Indigenous research is really about knowing yourself and knowing the place you come from and your connections to the land and place and your language and all of those things, the interconnectedness of everything.
There's a lot of information that needs to be collected within our communities that could very well pave the way to how we govern ourselves and how we manage our lands and our resources.
Well, to have a relationship, you need to actually come together, and that's the first thing that this incredible historical forum has done, is to bring people together in ways that haven't happened before, and with an intention to do things in research in ways that haven't happened before as well. So I think that's the first profound and important outcome of this gathering. The second, I think, is something of a message to universities themselves, and that is that the distance from the reserve to the university is the same as the distance from the university to the reserve. And for many years we've had Indigenous peoples approaching universities for those research skills, expertise that are offered within the university. This gathering is actually a time where Thompson Rivers University is saying, we will recognise the equal distance between the two, and we will find a way to work in partnership.
The capacity building we end up doing is often for non-Indigenous, non-community-based organizations who, are at that blue sky level, getting this idea, but they're not on the ground walking. And that's where the disparate, the disconnection is between how do you actually stay on the ground, grounded, doing this kind of stuff, if you have no sort of connection or understanding of what that relationship to the blue sky is.
There are those of us going to school, and we're going to school and we are remembering who we are and where we come from, but we're going to help be those mediators and those interpreters and advocates so that we can, what that one presenter said, share with the broader community what it is our community is saying.
I look at research over the last 200 years, I look at research over the last 20 years, especially in this province, and it hasn't done anything. All it's done is asserted non-Indigenous ideals and ideologies upon us, and it's not working. That's why we have to have these gatherings.
And I think that's what we have to begin to look at, because those things are going to make the most impact for our people, is focusing on their strengths as a people, and their strengths as a family, and our strengths as nations.
We are already on the road to better relationships.
Mopsin was so excited because he knew that this was what he spoke the spirits with. He jumped in his excitement, banged his head on the sky ceiling, and said he fell dead, and that his body forms the Rocky Mountains. At that time, all of the animals gathered around the naked human, taking pity on them. He has no claws, he has no fur, he has no teeth to bite. Weak. But the spirits came and said, we will bless this human with knowledge, a spiritual piece of ourselves left on earth. And they gave the human the awareness, they gave the human the understanding of natural law, and why Yarunak had to go, because he was not living within the natural order. And that human's job would be the spiritual conscious on earth to ensure that nothing went out of order in the future. At that time, when the human was born, the deer came forward and said, I'll give you my skin, I'll give you my meat and my bones. And all of the animals came forward, and the human made a promise to all of the creatures that he would care, share, and make sure that things were good for all times. And at that time, it said that the spirits that were there, present and witnessed, felt good and understood and believed the human. And they went up high in the sky, back to where they came from. And we were left here for all times. So now, as we take Aknumutsdishis, the natural law, and interpret it into Aknumutsdishis, our written law, we have to remember the origin from which we came and from which we will go forward. That's the story of how we believe we became born from the earth as the Aksmaknik people, the people of the earth, that we share that same understanding with many.
Hey! coyotes were going along. Then one of them said, "I am a coyote. Everyone knows that I am a coyote. But you are not a coyote. You are another one." "No way, I am also a coyote," the other one said. "Not at all, you are another one." "Okay, I'll show you right now. I'm going to cross this garden and you listen to the people." Well, he went across, and while he was going across, he was seen by the people. "Hey, there's a coyote going there." "It is, it's a coyote that's going there." He carried on and he went out of sight. Then the other one took off and he suddenly appeared and they noticed him. "There goes another one. It's another one that's going over there." He carried on and he got to the other spot where he met his friend. "See," he was told, "see, did you hear them? I am a coyote and you are another one."
One more thing I'll share with you, and it's with respect to understanding of research and knowledge keeping and knowledge transfer. So my great-grandfather was the last hereditary chief for my community. And in that community and in that process of record keeping and record transfer, we use a number of things. One of the things that we used was a string calendar. And so my grandfather had a big ball of buckskin, like this. And he could unwind that string and tell us hundreds and hundreds of years of history. And his job was to import that to someone else, give it to someone else, so that they in turn could then take that up. That ball of string was stolen and disappeared. It's probably in a museum somewhere, or who knows what. But when I taught with the College of the Rockies, I said to my students, there'll be no written exam. It will be an oral exam. The fear in the room was immense. But I said, I'm not going to leave you without anything. So I taught them about string record keeping. Told them, bring a piece of string, anything you want, and bring a few things to tie in that string, anything you want. And every time we have a lesson, you're going to think about what it was that we learned, and you're going to tie your knot in your string, and your thing in your string, whether it's a bead or anything, a piece of colored cloth, whatever. Come exam day, they all brought their strings, and they could not believe the power in that string. They could sit there and unwind it like a rosary with a prayer on each bead. They knew what they'd learned because that string was meaningful to them and the experience that they had that day. They said, I'm taking this to calculus.
Research has like a really important role in strengthening our traditional knowledge systems because it reinforces our identities. I think that community-based Indigenous research is really about knowing yourself and knowing the place you come from and your connections to the land and place and your language and all of those things, the interconnectedness of everything.